What is the difference between happiness and contentment? Really, they're the same thing, but there is a key difference. Happiness, or the external happiness that we pursue in things and achievements and people, that is not lasting happiness. And we know this because the things that we cultivated, the things that we wanted and that we pursued to bring us happiness, once the novelty wears off, think of the new car you had, the first time you moved into the house you now live in, the partner that maybe you've been with for a while. In the beginning, it seems perfect and the novelty wears off, and with it, so does this feeling of the happiness that we thought it would bring us. And this should bring us to the conclusion that actually happiness is not dependent upon the external. Happiness is something that relies on the internal world. So happiness is our response to all of the things that form our mood, rather than getting the thing that we want. And contentment is that. It's the inner world, right? If we are able to cultivate contentment, we don't need to pursue the things that make us happy because we're already happy. We might get those things as well, but they're not dependent upon our happiness. So you can see why this would make it a lasting happiness, because it's not dependent on things external to ourselves. So we have control, we cultivate it, it goes everywhere with us, and it's not at the whim of ever-changing external circumstances. Because if we put our keys to the happiness of us in the pockets of others, then we're always going to be disappointed, we're always going to be let down. And in reality, our contentment and real lasting happiness comes from this inner world. So it's something we have control over and something we can cultivate. I liken it sometimes to a lens that we look through. And one of the things that I learned from Buddhists, and I learned a lot, one of the things that really stuck with me is we think the world is what we see. So we think the world is as we see it. And yet it's only as it appears to us. And so what that means is, and a really good test for this is to talk about politics with your family. A really good test for this is the different lenses that we look through, right? We can be looking at exactly the same thing, but we see it very differently based on this inner world and these lenses that we look through. So the world is not as we see it. The world is as we want it to be seen, or how it appears to us. And we know this from our own experience, because the same things can happen day in, day out. And some days we're okay with it, and other days we're not. And that depends on the lens that we're looking through, or, as we often say, the side of bed that we got out of that day. And so that's this case for inner contentment, right? If we have cultivated inner contentment that I call harmony, so this sense of the harmony that arises from being connected to who you are and what you want, to living a life with meaning and purpose, that in a way that's fulfilled, all is right in the world, everything is in its right place, and you have this grounded confidence in who you are and how you're moving through the world. And of course with that, comes calm. We don't have stress, and regardless of the chaos that's going on around us, we remain in this grounded, composed state. That's harmony. And it comes from creating inner contentment, or inner peace as it's often called. So it's like this retreat within. I love going on retreats. I also love running them. And the feeling that people get when they come on these retreats is always one they want to hang on to. So when you've had space and stillness and time for yourself, and you've got perspective, and you've thought about the things that are important, and you've been nourished, and you've had time to rest and recharge, all of that gives you this beautiful feeling that often with my retreat attendees, you actually physically see there's a glow. They look younger as they leave. And yet this is something we can cultivate within. So I call it the retreat within. This is our harmony. This is cultivating contentment and inner peace.